fasting is not really encouraged because your second part of the cycle, your body needs, again, a lot more
Yes.
fuel, a lot more carbs, and you want to feed your body in the right way so your hormones are balanced. A lot of women don't fast based on their cycles, and then they end up feeling more crappy.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. It's such like crazy weather right now that I'm just kind of navigating it, which is such a great topic that we're going through today,
Yeah.
just because of like the weather and fluctuations and everything like that. Yeah, so let's get started because I
Yeah.
know it's time's always ticking nowadays. So go ahead, please introduce yourself to our viewers that are coming on or when this replays for them.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Dr. Tanvi. I'm a naturopathic doctor with a clinical focus in skin health and hair health. For those of you who aren't familiar with our first talk or don't know what a naturopathic doctor does, we basically dive into root cause medicine. So, for example, since we're talking about eczema a lot, we try to figure out what is triggering your eczema,
Mhm.
work on that more holistically. So, with diet, nutrition, more natural therapies essentially, and then eradicate that so that you have health for a longer period of time, which is a little bit different than conventionally kind of just using topicals or creams and things like that, which
Mhm.
then tend to kind of bring the eczema back once you stop. So that's a bit about what I do as a
Yeah.
naturopathic doctor. But I'm very excited about today's topic.
No, and I'm happy. And again, for people that are watching us today, my name is Makisha, founder and CEO of Everbella. Everbella is a skincare company that empowers individuals to create self-care rituals to treat their eczema, dermatitis, dry and sensitive skin conditions. But today, just like all of our other, lives with professionals, is to really go beyond just the products, is to go a lot more deeper into the body and really figure out all the other things that could be affecting your skin. So then that way it helps you on a long-term basis versus a short-term basis and not looking for a quick fix. So thank you, Tanvi, for coming and being on our show again today. I'm really excited about today's topic. And it's such a topic that, again, has so many different taboos and all of that. And it's all about detoxing because everyone thinks that detoxing is all the same for everybody. It's all going to be the same cookie cutter. Okay, don't eat or only have this food or only have that food, but everyone's body is different. So
Yeah.
I want to start this conversation with your experience, your knowledge, and really debunking and understanding how to talk to someone about detoxing and what your thoughts are on about that. I'm really curious to know.
So one of the reasons why I'm really kind of passionate about detoxing,
Mhm.
especially being a skin naturopath, is
Yes.
because our skin is the largest kind of detox organ there is out
Yes.
there. And when our
Mhm.
internal detox machinery, which for me is the liver and your gut health, those two kind of work together. If that
Mhm.
internal machinery is not working, things will start coming out on the skin.
Yeah.
And our first kind of impulse is, let's suppress it, let's suppress it. But
Yes.
when we look internally, this is why detoxing, and when I say detoxing, that's the biggest myth that I find in practice is that people will think detoxing means going on very restrictive diets or using
Mhm.
a ton of supplements or using all these fancy teas that are out
Yeah.
there. That's not the case. The case is just to support your liver and support
Yes.
your gut health so that
Mhm.
they are functioning properly. And that way, you're going to find more health benefits with the skin.
Thank you. And I'm happy you're saying that because it's true. Like I remember there was a year or a couple years where it's like detox tea, detox supplements, and all of these things. And I was like, oh my God, which one should I buy? Like there's so many that were out there
Yeah,
that was all about just drinking this and then you should get rid of all of your problems. Everything is
yeah,
perfectly
yeah.
fine. And I'm just like, no, I don't think that's true. Like I'm quite sure
No.
there's more that goes into it. So yeah, tell me more. Talk about it some more. I'm excited.
For sure. So when we talk about detoxing,
Yes.
the very first thing I tell patients, especially when it's related to kind of like their skin health, is
Mm-hmm.
don't want to put more things in the body.
Yes.
Instead, what you want to do is kind of bring everything together
Hmm.
to its baseline,
Yeah.
right? So what I mean by that is a lot of the times patients will think, okay, let me try these teas or let me try these
Yeah.
supplements. That's not what we're trying to do. We want to bring our body back to how it originally used to eat,
Yes.
function, all of
Hmm.
those things, right?
Yeah.
And with detoxing, it's not just about
Hmm.
food. It's also about kind of having good sleep,
Yeah.
making sure you're staying hydrated, making sure you're exercising, because exercising is one of the most actually effective ways to detox because you're sweating out all your toxins,
Yes.
right? So
And it's
that's
so
basically where
true.
we start.
It's so true because like I've always kind of detoxed and went through like this phase of detoxing about a couple of times a year because I
Hmm.
find when it comes to transitioning into seasons, that's when my eczema or my skin just kind of goes on this haywire.
Yeah,
So I'll go through like this bit of like this detoxing phase, and part of it is saunas and working out
I love
versus
saunas.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Like infrared saunas are my
amazing.
favorite. You know, it's not always easy accessible, so I'll go
Yeah,
for the steam ones, right?
yeah,
But I love it. And I find a lot of people don't really understand that saunas are much better for your skin health and detoxification versus it just being like this workout method, right? It's really about getting that toxicity out of your skin. And I
mhm,
find a lot of people don't really use it the right way or understand it the right
yeah,
way, but
yeah,
it's part of my detoxification process. It's not the holy grail of
yeah,
my detoxification. So I know there's
yeah,
a lot of people that I would talk to. I'm like, hey, so I think it would be great to start with some detoxification for your skin as like a step one. And they're
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, I've already been doing that. So I'm sure you get the same kind
yeah.
of like
Yeah,
reaction.
for sure. And this is what I mean by, it's not just your
Yeah.
diet. First of all, I wanna just talk about how dangerous it is to be on a very restrictive and
Mm-hmm.
very kind of like concise diet. I don't think that's
Yes.
good for your skin or your health at all.
Yes.
So one of the ways that I find detoxing is done.
Welcome to the Skin Deep Podcast, everyone. This is your go to podcast for everything skin health and self care, especially when it comes to eczema and dermatitis and other skin conditions. I'm your host, Makisha Banks. Join us as we have expert led conversations about all things skincare and what's stopping you from achieving the skin that you want. And that would be through self care practices, skincare rituals, or any other types of treatments that you need in order to bring you closer to your skincare goals. So join us in this episode.
Wrong is a lot of fasting. So there will
Mm-hmm.
be, and fasting is great actually for
Yes.
your body, but it has to be done the right way.
Yeah.
And then very like cutting down a lot of calories or cutting down a lot of foods, and
Mm-hmm.
that can put your body in more of a shock and more of a stress state than
Yes.
actually help with the detoxing process. So
Mm-hmm.
if I were to, give one piece of kind of advice right now, I would say do not do dangerously restrictive detoxes.
Yes.
What I would encourage people to start off with are things like, exercise, infrared sauna. Castor oil packs are great actually to
Yes.
help with detoxing. Dry brushing is great to help with detoxing. These are
Yes.
all things, if somebody wants to add in certain things to their protocols instead of relying just on diet and supplements and things like that, these are all great things to kind of start off with just to
Mm-hmm.
get your body's natural processes going.
Oh, I love what you said in terms of like the dry brushing. Like I do wood sculpting, so I don't fully do dry brushing, but I do a little bit of wood
Yeah.
sculpting, and that really helps. And I even like sometimes will add like my overall detoxification process will start with like some workouts because I find if I go too hardcore on the workout portion, it literally would make me want to eat more. And I think that's what
Yeah.
people don't realize too is that
Yeah.
yes, they're doing the actual detox part and they're working out, but they're not realizing that all of a sudden you're like, oh, I just want to eat everything in my face. And then it's like you kind of defeated the purpose of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So then I would start doing as well a little bit of the fasting. And I'm happy that you're bringing it up because I am a person that will do like a 24-hour fast or
Amazing.
3-day
Yeah.
fast. But
Yeah.
when I do that 3 day, one, it's not regular. It's like twice a year, like I said, just so that I can like reset the body. But on a
Yeah.
regular basis, I do 24-hour fast because I find that's what helps me really just control my sugar levels for one.
Yeah.
and and two, it helps me just kind of regulate. It's just I think there's that big stereotype, like you're saying, that when people start doing this detox, they go into fasting, but they're not used to it. So
Exactly.
because they're not used to it, like you said, they go through this shock and then all of a sudden they're breaking their fast in the wrong way. And then
Hmm.
before you know it, they go back to the bad things that they're doing. And then their skin blows up and they're like, fasting doesn't work. And it's
Yeah.
like, actually,
Yeah.
I think you did something wrong here.
Yeah. Yeah. I have two questions for
Yeah.
you.
Go ahead.
One, what is wood sculpting? I have never heard that before.
So think of dry brushing
Okay.
without the bristles, and it's like a cup.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
So you're literally rolling on the body,
Okay.
and what you're doing is helping up, like, for example, smoothing out your tissue so that you're having a more smooth surface. It helps with lymphatic drainage, massaging as well. You could do it on all different areas. So there's different types of tools that you can
Okay.
get.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
three that I have looks like a rolling pin, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could use it everywhere on the body. So I usually use it on the thighs, the inner thighs, sometimes on the stomach.
Yeah.
The one that I have that looks like a little hubcap, literally, I use that on the inner thighs just to help, tighten it up. And I use it on the abdomen to really help tone that area. And you can use it on the bum too, so that way it can help
Yeah.
massage the bum tissue. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's very similar to dry brushing without the bristles.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, similar concept. I think what you're trying to do is stimulate the lymphatic system and just kind of
Yeah.
clear things
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Oh,
usually
okay.
it's great to do it through like body cavitation treatments or after you do a body massage, it's great to
Yeah.
incorporate it into it. Yeah, so it is very
Okay.
similar.
Yeah, amazing. And my second question, because I think people will be interested since we are talking about
Yeah.
it, is when you do your 24-hour fast,
Yes.
are you having anything at all, like water, bone broth, veggies, anything
Good.
at all, or
I
is it nothing?
so you Usually when it's a 24-hour fast, I do Himalayan salt in my water just so that
Okay.
it's just a water fast. And then when I'm doing my 3 day fast, I do have the bone broth. So I'll have
Okay.
like the salt waters, but then I'll also have the bone broth. When the times
Yeah.
where I'm like, I want to eat everything and then
Yeah.
some, I'm
Yeah.
like, have the bone broth so it
Yeah.
calms down my stomach. So it
Yeah.
all depends, but yeah, that's the two that I do. The water's on my 24-hour, and then when I do longer ones, I'll do the bone broth.
Okay, gotcha. That's actually a great point
Hmm.
because I find with detoxes, the one thing people really miss is your protein, right? So
Yes,
protein is amazing
yes,
to curb sugar cravings and cravings in
yes.
general. So the
Hmm.
bone broth that you're actually drinking on the 3-day fast,
Yes,
that's why it's helping you because it's kind of bringing down your blood sugar or
exactly.
stopping your blood sugar spikes and causing you to be less cravey, essentially. Um,
Yeah.
so that's amazing.
My
I think that's a great way to fast.
I'm like, I'm on the right
Yeah.
track. I'm always so happy when I talk to you. I'm like, yes, bonus points. Makisha, you're doing it great. Yes, you're on the right track. So,
Yeah.
and then, and it's so true. Like, there's a lot of people that I talk to and they're doing it the wrong way. And I'm like, no, 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 we're not doing it that way. Like, I've done a lot of research with fasting because before I started that 3 day fast, I actually tried to make sure that I was using and eating the right way, breaking the fast the right way, because I've heard of
Yeah.
all of the things that could go wrong when you're
Yeah.
breaking the fast the wrong way. And also when you're on the fast, how to make it work for you versus against you. And
Yeah.
that's where I did that research. So when I hear people that are like, oh, I just did a fast and then I just went and ate my breakfast
Yeah.
and they're breaking it with like cereal or,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
weirdest thing, like oatmeal. And I'm like, no, you're just going right back up
Yeah.
there with the blood sugar. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's right. That we really have to focus on the right ways to break a fast. And even for
Hmm.
fasting in general, I feel like instead of jumping right into it for people that have never done it before, like for
Yes.
you, you're a pro at it, but for people that have never done it before, I always say like you want to start with first pushing your meals together a little bit. So you move your
Yes.
breakfast a little bit
Hmm.
later, Move your dinner a little bit earlier, and once you have this habit of kind of eating in a shorter window or
Yes.
shorter span, then you
Yes.
can push your body into getting into like a 24-hour fast or something that's more, challenging. Because
Yeah.
if you just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm not eating today, that's not gonna work.
I tried it. I was like, okay, I'm going to do a fast. And I swear it broke within 22 hours. I was just
Yeah,
like, yeah, this is just not going to
that's still
happen.
pretty
Let me
good.
try it again. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was like, I can do it. I could do this 24-hour.
Yeah.
But because I had my breakfast early and then I had my regular meals, like I had a really early breakfast, I had my lunch and I had my dinner. I felt like when I tried to do it the next day, like go into the 24-hour fast, I was like, by the time it was 12, I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I literally stopped it and then I tried to do it again. And it's true, like I had an earlier dinner and I
Yeah.
found it was easier to smooth into it because like again, I'm quite sure you know more than I do, is that when you're eating later, you're still kind of working and breaking down the food, so you just kind of want to wake up and start eating. But if you kind of
Exactly.
have an earlier dinner, then it's not as like pressure to eat something first thing in the morning. So
Exactly.
that's what made it a lot more easier for me to kind of transition to it. And just like you said, condense your window and then move into it. It
Yeah.
changed everything for me. So now I don't even eat 3 times a day. I eat usually sometimes once or twice because I've always condensed my eating window.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Did you know fasting actually is also better at certain times of your cycle rather than others? Have you read
Yes,
that?
that's
Yeah.
exactly what I was going to ask
Yeah.
you next.
I
I'm
like
so
heard that
happy
all.
you're like right on the
Yeah.
brainwave because
Yeah.
it's true. Like again, that's what I was going to ask you is, when is the right time for people to detox? So for
Yeah.
example, I know
Yeah.
males are very different than females.
Yeah.
A lot of women I know have it very just mixed up as to when they can have their fast. They're not really understanding the science and
Yeah.
the concept of it. So
Yeah.
please
Yeah.
dive deep into it. I'm so happy you
Yeah,
brought
for
it up.
sure. Yeah, for sure. So overarchingly, if we're looking at kind of the seasons and just timelines, the
Mm-hmm.
best time to fast is the transition periods like you're talking about.
Yes.
If we're getting even nitty-gritty into it, spring is actually an amazing time to fast because our body is kind of coming out of that winter
Yeah.
hibernation and then
Yeah.
moving into kind of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't want to fast is in the dead of winter, right? Because our body
Got
needs
it.
a lot more fuel
Yes.
because it's really cold outside. People also don't feel the best during the winter. They have low energy, they feel
Yeah.
lethargic, their mood is not the best, so that's not a great time.
Mm-hmm.
For women specifically, fasting is amazing during the first 10 days of your cycle. So with your periods, if you're looking at your period, day one is when you start
Yes.
to bleed. So when you
Yeah.
start your period, and kind of moving on from that, the first 10 days of that is the best time to fast for women.
Mm-hmm.
After that, fasting is not really encouraged because your second part of the cycle, your body needs again a lot more
Yes.
fuel, a lot more carbs, and
Mm-hmm.
you want to feed your body in the right way so your hormones are balanced. But I think that's
Yes.
another misconception. I think a lot of women don't fast based on their cycles, and then they end up feeling more crappy or end up
Yes.
feeling more lethargic and having headaches and things like that. So
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
you're like bang on with that. And I'm like, yes, I got another point here because
yeah,
I was doing it wrong as well. Like I
mm,
realized that there was a time when I was doing it fast and it wasn't even I wasn't making it to a full 24 hours. I was almost like about like the 18-hour. And I
yeah,
just started getting headaches. I just started feeling really weird. And I'm like, I don't understand how come I feel this way. Because normally when I fast, I don't have this issue. I look at my calendar and I'm like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
Why? Yeah,
There's
yeah,
something going on here. It's very similar in issues with like my menstrual cycle. So I broke the fast. Everything felt amazing. I felt great
yeah,
after. So I
yeah,
did kind of make that note, especially because my daughter now has her cycle too. And
yeah.
she likes to do intermediate fasting. I don't know, like she's 14. I don't know how she all of a sudden wants to do this. I guess she
TikTok.
sees
We
her
can
mom
just,
and she wants to
yeah,
do it too.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's such a great point that people need to remember is the first 10 days of your cycle is when you want to do it. And after
Hmm.
that, you're almost building up to getting, like the later half of your
Yeah,
menstruation. So then
yeah,
it's like you're building back that energy.
yeah.
Now, one thing I want to ask regarding that though is I would still do like a 14-hour intermediate fasting more than anything. how do you feel about those things? I know some people don't like breakfast. They like to eat a little
Yeah.
bit later.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that kind of fasting is amazing. I still
Okay.
think it's not encouraged maybe like a week before your period comes
Yes.
through, because again, that's
Yes.
like rest and relaxation, feeding your
Yes.
body, that kind of things. It's
Mm.
great to do during ovulation, like the
Okay.
13 to 14-hour fasts. But
Okay.
it has a lot of studies around being super beneficial for a lot of things like blood
Hmm.
sugar, like your
Yes.
skin, like your energy, mood, stress, all of those things.
Hmm.
So if somebody finds like the 24-hour fasts or the longer fast really difficult, they can kind of start again with like the intermittent or intermediate fasting.
Awesome. Awesome. And I find that's what people need to realize when they're doing the fasting. It's not just about the fact that it's for fat loss. It's really good in terms of regulating their hormones, their
Yeah,
skin, detoxification.
good
And
point. Yeah,
yeah, and it needs to be taken away from this whole point of like you want to drop 20 pounds going fast. It's like, can we like get away from like the weight loss portion and
yeah,
understand the other great benefits of
yeah,
fasting and not making it seem as though like you only fast for those reasons, which is just to lose weight? Because
exactly.
I've done it not for losing weight. For my skin, I did it for, but the byproduct was I started losing weight, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I don't even need to work out as much. Like I still do, but I don't do it as much because I realize it's the flip side of it. It's
yeah.
more on that food and that detoxification and
Hmm.
doing the fasting versus working out. It's just a great portion to it, but it's just not
Yeah.
the key to it. And I'm happy that you're talking about this because it's something that, again, a lot of people don't understand. And now it's time for people to really see the bigger benefit of it.
Yeah, for sure. And also with fasting, I like that people are getting more educated on the right way to eat as well. Again, like I said, it's not very restrictive. It's not very, like calorie counting and things like that. We don't encourage
Yes.
that. We want to focus on really whole foods, good amount of protein, lots of vegetables, those kinds of
Mhm.
things, which I feel
Yeah.
like people are more inclined to do now.
Yeah. So with that being said, and I'm happy again, you're bringing up such great points, and I love
Yeah.
that. What are the right foods or the right, things that they should be eating when they're in a fast or in a detox, which doesn't have to be fasting per se, but in
Yeah.
a detox, and then really like how long is that method for, that modality for? So if you want to go deeper on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. So for me personally, the length, I always try to get patients when they're starting out to do like a 10-day detox. And
Okay.
again, we don't try a lot of fasting. We just try to kind of squish our eating period or eating time to smaller and smaller as much as possible. For the foods, the best way to start, and I find like this is a struggle for a lot of people, is to first move from takeout food to home cooked meals,
Yeah.
right? That transition in itself. I had a patient who actually was only doing takeout, and we
Hmm.
encouraged more home cooked meals. We even did like a meal service for her. We
Hmm.
encouraged her to get a meal service for someone that was cooking at home, not like the ones that are, and I don't want to take names, but not the ones where, they still use kind of like the inflammatory oils and things like that. This was a more
Hmm.
healthier meal service.
Hmm.
And just making that switch from just getting Chipotle and takeout all the time to eating more home cooked meals helped her
Hmm.
cholesterol, helped her weight, helped her skin so much.
Hmm.
And I think that's if there's like a small step people want to take and they want to just kind of start out, I think squishing your eating period to
Hmm.
smaller and then switching from takeout to more home cooked meals is best.
Okay.
If you want to go a layer further, with respect to foods, I think choosing more of like those whole foods, adding a lot more vegetables, adding cleaner
Yes.
protein, like these are all great ways to continue fasting. One of the things
Hmm.
we always, or sorry, not fasting, detoxing. One of the things we always forget is hydration. And
Yes.
a lot of the times we're so focused on food that we're not realizing that we're not drinking enough water, we're not
Yeah.
hydrating our bodies. Especially, and I don't know if you've noticed this for yourself, but for myself, when I'm in a detox period, I feel thirsty a lot more
Yeah.
than on a regular basis.
Oh, I do. And I'm
You
just
do,
like, I
yeah.
might have just sit beside like a washroom because otherwise, like the amount of water that you're consuming,
Yeah,
people will feel heavy in the beginning because your body's just absorbing it. But but then eventually you start to see that you're not as bloated because you're finally like replenishing the body with the hydration that it needed. And it's
Yeah.
very true. I find a lot of people focus on the food so much more, but they're not remembering that they are now, because they're focused on like not having the wrong foods. They're like, oh, let me drink more water. They're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, water tastes so good all of a sudden. And it's just like, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's funny how detoxing in that way makes you really spotlight on the bad habits that we had versus
Yeah.
the good habits that we need to implement, which is, yes, takeout is so bad because there is a lot of those hidden inflammation foods or ingredients that you're talking about, especially
Yeah.
those oils. And people don't realize, yeah, you may be getting this like wholesome looking
Yeah.
meal from this restaurant, but then before you know it, you're like, I'm very bloated. Why am I so bloated? And it's because of the ingredients that they're using
And the
honestly do
salt
cause them to have
content,
inflammation.
the sugar content, all
Yes.
of those things. Yeah.
Yes, and it blows them up. So when they start cooking their own food, they're like, first of all, it wasn't that bad. I actually can cook.
Yeah.
And then two, it's
Yeah.
like it tastes a little bit better than what
Yeah.
the other ones were giving them. But then they realize that they can actually balance out their food a lot more. And I find it happened with my sister. She started cooking a lot more, and she did realize that one, her groceries were lasting much longer. She was meal
Yeah.
prepping a little bit better, and she wasn't making, spending so much more money, but she also felt more full
Mm-hmm.
because the actual quality of the ingredients. So it makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So now with that being said, in terms of like starting and go flowing into that detox, how would you let that person know? So again, we're shrinking that window that you were saying. Now, are
Yeah.
there certain things that you're doing besides just adding or subtracting from their foods? Like tell
Yeah.
me about more about that.
So for subtracting from their foods, I tend to say obviously no processed sugar.
Hmm.
The best way to detox, in my opinion, and I found the most benefit with this is to not do any types of sugars at all. So no honey,
Okay.
no stevia, no none of those things,
Okay.
because all of those, when you're really looking at it, they might not be as inflammatory as white processed sugar, but they're still spiking our blood sugar the same way, right?
Okay.
So what we want is to not have those. Again, I always tell patients, if you're craving it, you can have a piece of fruit always after a meal so that it's
Hmm.
not spiking your blood sugar, and try to
Yes.
stick to like the low glycemic index foods like berries.
Okay.
But if they can kind of stay away from like the honeys and the jaggery and stevia and all of those things, that's also important. We're
Hmm.
trying to switch their oils to more anti-inflammatory oils. So
Okay.
anything that's not a seed or a nut oil. So
Okay.
I like avocado oil. That's kind of like my favorite. So I always
Yes.
encourage patients to use that instead.
Yes.
And then we're trying to kind of balance their meals out
Hmm.
with protein, vegetables, healthy fats, and then carbs are good, but you want to select carbs that are more natural to the environment. So, like, get most of your carbs from like vegetables,
Okay.
from potatoes, from starchy like vegetable, like potatoes, sweet potatoes,
Hmm.
those kinds of things. Instead of doing like things like white bread or white rice, or like quinoa is also great. For me personally, quinoa is fine to add to the diet. Couscous is fine, but
Okay.
you want to stay away from like the three whites is what I call it. So white bread, pasta, and then white rice. Like those are the three things
Hmm.
we want to stay away from.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I find, because everyone, it's the season of fall, everyone's like pasta everything.
Yes,
Everything is pasta. And it's such a comfort food,
it
right?
is. Yeah.
And it's just that they don't realize that, yes, the pasta itself and the sauce as well are
Yeah.
both very hidden with a lot of different things that they don't, the body doesn't agree to. And then they wonder, why am I getting those spikes of like irritation and inflammation in the winter time?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily because of like the season pollens and all of that.
Yeah.
It's the types of food that they're eating in the fall, and that's what starts to spike their, the irritation and inflammation.
Exactly.
And then of course obviously that, the cold air.
Mhm.
But because of that comfort food in the
Yeah.
fall, and the comfort drinks in the fall, those are what spikes everything. And that's why that detox is such an important element for them to add in. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's good to know what to add and what to kind of take out, or
Yeah.
even switch, because I know it's hard for people to do a very large jump in that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I usually give my patients like an alternate
Mhm.
list. So, for example, instead of pasta, if they want to do like a zucchini noodle
Ah,
instead, or they can
yes.
do cognac noodles, which are like mushroom-based noodles essentially.
Mm.
Like those are kind of good switches. So if you still want to have like a pasta-like
Yes.
dish, you can
Yes.
do a homemade sauce. You can add in zucchini or zoodles instead,
Yes.
and then or do like cognac noodles. I really like those. They're actually made of shiitake mushroom. So
Oh, I
uh,
love shiitake
yeah,
mushrooms.
yeah.
Absolutely
So
obsessed.
those are all ways to kind of reduce your carb load and kind of reduce the inflammatory foods.
Yes.
Um, and that's an easier way I find for people to understand because obviously, like we said, it's hard for people to just go from 0 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier for them to kind of transition in and out. Eventually, after the first or second time,
Mm-hmm.
they I encourage them to just not eat the pasta at all. Or zucchini noodles are fine because
Yeah.
they're again you're making them at home, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, it's a slow process, but I feel like if someone really wanted to start with detoxing, this is
Yeah.
probably where I would
That's
start.
good. And it's a good way because it's substitution is easier, I find, for people to kind of get into versus that big jump. Because, like we said, that big jump is where people get that shock to the system and they're
Yeah,
just like, I can't handle it. This is way too
yeah,
much. Or they can't upkeep it. Like that same idea where it's like, keep that habit for 20 to 30 days and it becomes
hmm
permanent. 2 weeks, people break.
yeah,
you know,
I know.
they
Yeah,
break in 2 weeks. They're like, I can't keep this up. It's too expensive, too much time consuming. What can
yeah,
I do? They want that faster fix to fix their skin. And
yeah,
that's the reason why, they rely
yeah.
back on those different medicinals to help their skin. But unfortunately, it's not a long term, kind of use. So, my next question is, what is the wrong thing people would do in terms of detoxing? What's the wrong thing?
So number one, the number one wrong thing, like I said before, is just using too many supplements or
Mm-hmm.
using too many fancy teas
Yeah.
and things like that. We don't need to put more gunk in our body when we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to kind of detox, right? The
Yes.
second thing is people don't prioritize protein and again go into those very kind of restrictive diets. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime you're doing a detox, the two main things to kind of focus on are your protein intake, make sure you're getting enough, and also vegetables. Increase your vegetables. Vegetables are great for the liver, especially like leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, like those kinds of things are really great for the liver. They help to detoxify. So
Mm-hmm.
we do want to focus on those instead of just being like very restrictive with your diet and then
Yeah.
eating a big bowl of pasta, right? That's not
Yeah.
the right way to do it.
Yes.
Because that's again going to spike your blood sugar up and going to cause more inflammation
Mm-hmm.
than not. So those two I would say are kind of like the most like the two things that people do wrong.
Yes.
Um, I also find with first time detoxers,
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to know that the first couple of days you might still get those negative symptoms of like headaches, feeling
Mm-hmm.
lethargic, feeling fatigued. I kind of explain it like, you know how you enter a very dusty room to clean it off, and the minute you start
Yeah.
dusting, all like the dust flies around and you start
Yes.
sneezing?
Yes.
It's kind of like that effect. So it's just your liver pushing out your toxins. So initially you may have those kind of negative side
Mm-hmm.
effects, but what people do wrong in that sense is then they just give up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The point is to kind of hydrate yourself, feed yourself, not
Yes.
restriction feeding, and kind of push through those negative side effects. And this is maybe why I also feel like having kind of like someone who's overseeing this detox is really important. They
Mm-hmm.
can buy detox books that are written by good authors, like credible authors, essentially. They can see a
Yes.
naturopath if they want. They can see a nutritionist, dietitian, whatever it is, just to help them guide them in the first the first time that they might be doing this
Mhm.
detox. Once you're
Mm.
at pro level like you, then it's easy to kind of implement those strategies.
Yeah.
And the last thing that people do wrong is, again, like you mentioned before, they break their fast wrong,
Hmm.
or they break their detox
Yeah.
wrong, right? So detoxes are never sustainable. We shouldn't go in with the mindset that this is going to be our diet for the rest of our life. What we
Hmm.
want to do is have like a good wave, right? So you do a detox for some time, then you have a vacation, enjoy yourself,
Yeah.
in moderation. Like you can do whatever you want, come back and then get back into that detox so you can reset your system. Try to
Hmm.
eat healthy when you're not doing detoxes and you're not on vacation or things like that. It's all about this cyclical movement and this balance. It
Yes.
should never be that this is your detoxing it's not a
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's just a short period of time where people are kind of doing this to reset their body, and then
Hmm.
they can get into a good groove of just eating healthier, trying to exercise, getting enough sleep, those kinds of
And
things.
thank you for saying that last point, because
Yeah,
I find that is the issue, is that people think it's either the two that I kind of
yeah,
encounter. It's like detoxification is their life. Like that's the baseline. Like
yeah,
that's all they're doing is detoxing every day, all day. And I kind of fell into that myself. There was a point in
yeah.
time that I was like, detox 24/7, like detox drink, detox this, but I'm eating this kind of food. And then I'm like, I wasn't really enjoying the food. It was very like,
Yeah,
I can't have this, I can't have that. And it helped me because it made me understand like what's the right types of foods to consume and
yeah.
so forth. But then the problem was like I almost became like very resistant to food. I almost felt like I had a bad relationship with food. and then
Which is
and
not
then I
good. Yeah.
yeah. And then the flip side ended up happening is that I, after got off the detoxification kind of wave, and I wanted to consume every single thing. I was
Hmm.
like, I'm going to eat this, I'm going to eat that, I'm going to eat this. And then it's like, you almost felt like I hated food. Now I am obsessed with food because I restricted myself for so long. And then
Hmm.
it's like, okay, now I'm at this point where I have like a good balance. Like you said, like these highs and lows. Like when I
Hmm.
realized, okay, I did such a great job, I'm going to cheat a little bit, I'm going to eat really good food. And then after that, I'm gonna detoxify because you know what? I ate a little bit too much burgers for the last little
Yeah.
bit, and I see a little bit of like
Yeah.
irritation. So
Yeah.
then I'll go back to like having a bit of a detox, and then I'll go back onto this regular food regimen. So that's my point, is that what you're saying is so smart, is that you're understanding when is the right time to detox. But on that whole point, you should still have a different way of eating. You should have like a way of eating that's healthy, that's beneficial, that's nutritious, that has all of
Hmm.
the right elements, but you're not only sticking to that for too long where you're not enjoying your food, but you're
Exactly.
doing it in such a right balance and harmony where it's like, I know when to detox, I know what's my baseline kind of foods I should be intaking, and then I know when I can cheat a little bit and have some fun and have some cake, but it shouldn't be like cake 4 times a week.
Exactly. Moderation.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do
Yeah,
this.
I know, I know. So I really appreciate your chats with me today, because detoxing is, like I said, such a mythical kind of conversation. It goes
Yeah.
over people. Some people are live by it way too much, and some people are not really allowing that to enter in their life in the right way. So my last, like, kind of wrapping up, to just to wrap up this conversation is, when was the right time? Like you said, spring was the right time to start doing it. Is there any other kind of times that you feel is good that people can start detoxing, like throughout the year, even for men? Because I find men don't really get a little bit of attention when it comes to detoxing.
Yeah,
They're like, oh,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, it's funny because men probably get the best results with detoxing because their body
Okay.
responds really well to quick changes. I think for women, because our cycle is involved and hormones are involved,
Hmm.
it does take us some time to kind of get those benefits. But
Yeah.
to answer your question, spring is the best time to detox, but also transition periods, right? So
Okay.
right now,
Yeah.
summer is almost ending. I know it's so sad to say
I know.
that.
I know.
But going into the fall, I think this is a good period to start detoxing as well, because we've probably all enjoyed the summer, had our indulgences and things like that. And before we get into kind of like the fall colder
Yes.
period, this is a great time to just do a little reset and then kind of jump into fall. This is also a great time for people that experience eczema or psoriasis or dry skin to do it, because
Mm-hmm.
the fall winter seasons are always really hard on them, on their skin,
Yes.
with the weather getting drier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good time to just reset your body and reset that detoxification, so the toxic load is not too much going into a season that already triggers them so much.
Okay. No, that's really good to know. And I give myself another bonus point because I'm doing it.
Oh,
But
amazing.
it's just like, it's something that I kind of learned, like whenever there's new seasons, I reset. I don't know what it is. I think it's just like channeling. I've just always felt whenever there's a new season, I reset myself. So
Yeah,
August was kind of like the month to do that and getting ready for the fall. But
yeah.
my last question, to touch on that, because I didn't even think about it, what about children in terms of detoxing? Like, is there a right method that you kind of give for children for detoxing? Because I know they can benefit from it too, but I know they can't necessarily do it the same way as an adult does.
Yeah, so for kids, we don't necessarily do like the very strict detoxing that I recommend to adult patients. A
Mm-hmm.
couple of things that I find are really good for kids for
Okay.
detoxing is castor oil packs. So
Okay.
the castor oil packs, essentially, for those who don't know, you basically apply like an organic based castor oil somewhere around your belly and the liver
Mm-hmm.
area, which is basically under your right breast.
Okay.
So you want to essentially apply castor oil, put on a dirty cloth or some cloth, because castor oil can get quite sticky, and then you can put a
Okay.
heating pad on. The
Mm-hmm.
heating pad is optional. That's just to increase more blood flow to the area.
Okay.
But those are phenomenal for kids, just to get their digestion, get their liver juices kind of flowing. And
Mm-hmm.
then for kids in general, I do encourage parents to always, introduce them to vegetables, because that's a really big thing where kids kind of don't like a lot of
Yes.
vegetables, or yeah, it's like the taste, the texture thing. So
Yes.
just creative ways of increasing like those leafy greens and veggies in their diet is a great
Mm-hmm.
way to just stimulate their own natural detoxification.
Yes.
Because kids are very resilient. They bounce back
Yes.
really fast. There's not much damage to their liver and gut health initially.
Mm.
So even just small things like increasing veggies, increasing hydration, and doing a
Okay.
castor oil pack, those are good enough for them to kind of start detoxifying.
Okay. No, that's really good to know. And
Yeah.
I definitely want to pass that over to my sister-in-law, because her son has a little bit of eczema as well too, and
Hmm.
I want to kind of
Yeah.
help him as well. But that's such great like information. Thank you so much,
Yeah, of
Tanvi. I
course.
really love this chat about detoxing, because it's like such a great topic, especially at this time right now. Please let everyone know about your brand. I'm so excited for you. So please talk
Yeah,
about
for
it.
sure. So for those of you who don't know, I am the co-founder or the founder of a brand called New Earth, which is a clean beauty hair care brand. Yeah, and I feel like that's where we align so much,
I
right? So
know.
it's basically vegan, it's cruelty free, it's all natural. It's formulated with research-backed ingredients. Our first product that we launched recently, about 4 months ago,
Mhm.
is a hair oil for hair growth, which is
Yes.
amazing for the fall season
Yes.
and the winter season to come up. And it has completely clean ingredients with no fragrances. Also, a great thing for detoxification is to have cleaner beauty products, which we didn't talk
Yes.
about, but I know you and I always keep talking about this,
I know.
is to kind of reduce our toxic load with cleaner products that don't have a lot of harsh chemicals or preservatives
Mhm.
or fragrances and things like that.
I know. I'm thoroughly excited about this, because I find it is true. Like, we're in that season where people, they need that protection, but they need the right products. And I find the products that we see on the counters, they have a lot of things that make your skin
Hmm.
dry and make your skin irritated and make your skin compromised.
Exactly.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Tanvi,
for
for being
sure.
on with us. I'm hoping that, people got something from today's talk. I did. I got a lot from it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to put some notes together. But for everyone that was watching today, thank you so much for coming on. And I hope you start your detoxification process the right way for your skin, but also for your overall better health. So thank you
Yeah,
so much.
you inspired me to start my own detoxing now. So I'm probably gonna get on that maybe next week.
Yes, do it as soon as possible. Like, imagine waking up in the morning feeling amazing in your skin. It's soft, it's supple, it's smooth, and it just has this iridescent glow. Well, I'm excited to introduce you to our partners and sponsors, Everbella. Everbella is a skincare company that empowers individuals to create self-care rituals to treat their eczema, dermatitis, dry, and sensitive skin conditions. And Everbella products not only help you on your skincare journey, but it helps you understand how to create your own specialized ritual that is catered to your needs. It helps you creating a barrier, it helps to purify your skin, it helps to also relax your muscles, and it helps to calm down the inflammation. The variety of products include butters, scrubs, bath soaks, soaps, and all different types of oils that are helping you create a great barrier over your skin, but also to encourage your skin to repair itself and get back to that vitalized, rejuvenated feeling. If you are looking for products that are not only going to help you on your skincare journey, but also just to make you feel great while taking care of your skin, I encourage you to take a look at Everbella products. So definitely go ahead and click on everbella.ca or any of their social media channels to get a little bit more information about their products.